So if you're not adjusting to that part of the culture, you might not be Filipino enough. Before you skip this, you will need to hear this. I want you to hear this. It'll save you so much headaches and stress. You might not be Filipino enough. So if you're a Filipino American, balikbayan, OFW, married to a Filipina, you've probably heard this. Don't forget to send money back home. Or sometimes it's don't forget to send money back because you got to take care of this, and this. At first it feels like love, but over time it feels like guilt. Or for many of the ones I've spoken to, it feels like guilt. So my question for you is, does sending remittances keep you connected, or does it eventually trap you into guilt? This is a dilemma that many Phil-Ams, kababayans, balikbayans, OFWs really face from time to time. It's belonging, money, and the silent dilemma that many of us go through that's in secret. So the Philippines depends on you more than you think. Let me give you some stats from the World Bank. The Philippines remittances equate to about 36.1 billion. Many families in the Philippines, money is just about survival. And for those of you who get to go abroad, it becomes an identity. You are going to be the breadwinner within the family. You know, success isn't climbing a ladder. It's carrying the weight of others on your shoulders. So a typical story I usually hear from when I was in America as well as around here with, families that are going abroad, it's usually, the person abroad sends over the money. Let's say, for instance, it's a daughter, parents are home. Let's say mom handles the expenses. So it's already lined up ready, medical, everything, going out, upkeep of the house and all those things. And as well as everyone wants to upscale their life. So new appliances, new furniture and all those things. Now, the gratitude in the very beginning turns into expectations. And usually the problem here in the Philippines is I see that there could be one breadwinner and then everybody attaches themselves to that breadwinner's kita or breadwinner's sueldo or the breadwinner's payroll, and everything is central to that person. That's usually the typical breadwinner move here in the Philippines. If you agree with that, comment down below. If you don't agree with it, comment down below and tell me why. Utang ng loob versus personal freedom. Let's go over it. Is it generosity or is it debt that never ends? So if you guys don't know, there's a Filipino value called utang ng loob, or it's like utang kababuton in Bisaya, right? And it's a deep obligation to repay family, or the repay family, not so much in money, but in sacrifice. It's very commonplace here. And obviously it happens in other countries as well, including America, because people have this debt of like gratitude, but more, I find that here it's a bit more like obligational versus like optional in many parts of America. So there was a study where 71% of Asian Americans say that they feel pressure to succeed financially for family honor. So it happens here with local Filipinos. So, there's a degree of pressure of finishing because it's almost as if many families run this way, not all, obviously. They elevate themselves, they one or two people, generally one, and they become the breadwinner in the hopes of they're helping another person become the breadwinner, and so on and so forth. It's like a each one teach one thing, and then elevating everyone. But the sad side or the other spectrum of that is, like I said before, just families depending on one person to provide everything. And as you know, in the Philippines, so many people live together as extended families. So it does become very taxing over time, to be honest with you. For Filipino Americans, it's a obligation mixed in with culture. So if you're not adjusting to that part of the culture, you might not be Filipino enough, which is very sad. But sometimes even I get some pushback on the things that I do because I might be a bit too American for some people here, or not so much American, my ideals are a bit more westernized than people here. Now I want to go over this thing it's like no one really talks about it. They're using guilt as currency. It usually works out to be like in the Filipinos, and like, don't you want them to become successful? Don't you, you know what they did for you, you know this for you, you know that for you, and I get it, I understand gratitude, paying them back, but I've always had it in my brain where I pay my parents back and keep them proud by performing to or coming up to the level of what they thought I was, rather than actually giving them money. Now, there are times where, obviously, there's always been times where my parents gave me money to help me out. And I'm fortunate enough to have that. But there are times now that I'm older, going out, doing these vacations or whatever. Yeah, since my dad died, me and my brother and the rest of my siblings take care of my mom. So that's from the heart. That's, not the, don't you know, I took care of you, not the guilt tripping. But for many families, they do have this. I've heard a lot of harsher conversations than we have in our family. So sometimes the biggest exchange is not money, it's guilt. Parents remind you, we raised you, and now it's your turn. I don't know where you guys feel with that. I have my own beliefs. What's your beliefs? Comment down below. And even silence seems like a request sometimes, and I've been in this position as well. Like when you're the guy or people or sets or a couple that make the money in the family, it's almost expected, If you don't, there's a sense of a guilt trip. Like, that's why they have that saying here in the Philippines, sana all. Like, how come, and besides, it's like nangigi, like, how come them and not me? And, or like, it's like one of my, I guess in American sense, it's like, oh, it's good to be you, which it carries a very negative connotation for me. Comment down below if you feel the same way. In Tim Grover's book, Relentless, it's like pressure can either break you or forge you into someone that thrives under expectations. Someone that can thrive under pressure because it's not breaking you. So just think about that. Where do you sit with that? So one of the last things I want to cover is belonging through sacrifice. And one of the hardest truths that I had to face was that sending money sometimes is what buys your place into the table. Many of you do know or don't know, I have family in politics, and I talk to them from time to time. And something that has always been told to me, even since I was a younger kid or younger person, you got to pay to play. So it's one of those things where if you want your voice to be heard, you got to invest into the social system of the family. Being the breadwinner does dictate some sense of order or some sense of like, you know what, you're going to do what I say because I'm the one, furnishing all of these. For the most part, many families who don't run this way, they run perfectly fine. Unfortunately, sometimes there's flare-ups of entitlement, flare-ups of, not being grateful and things like that. So this is like a dangerous catch-22 sometimes when you are this person that tries to carry or bear the load. In a family setting in the Philippines, your generosity is an introduction to who you are sometimes. Now, with that is, for me, is very dangerous because the more you put out, there's going to be expectations. And then you got to be careful with those expectations, obviously. Now, the question is, does that mean that your value is tied to your wallet or your presence? Because it feels as if it feels as if sometimes that you'll be surrounded by a bunch of yes men. People just saying, just like this, as long as you give me money, which, I've been in that setting before. I particularly am not fond of it, to be honest with you. I guess some words of advice that I would tell you if you were in this situation is that stop trading your money for approval. Because the moment that you run out of it, you're not approved. So that's very dangerous, especially if you're trying to impact people. And I know money can be used as a tool, but use it as a tool. Don't use it as a just if you're a money machine, use it as a tool. Use it to leverage certain things at the end of the day. Within my family, in my personal situation, I try to offer money to build trust in a way where it's just not cash flow from me. It's the wording, or it's a talk track of, hey, listen, I heard you want to do a business. I'm gonna give this money to you, or I'm going to invest with you with this money, and then we can talk about game planning, how to go about this, how to go about that. Since I'm going to be abroad, I'll give you a chance to run it. However, I just want to, kind of like assist you in doing this or doing that. Another way is just, actually being honest, as in like, this money doesn't come easily. I trust that you're going to take care of it. But for me, it goes without saying, you're going to give me the plan, a more thorough plan of how this money is going to get used. Or if it's like on appliances or anything like that, like why did I ask more clarifying questions at the end of the day, like, why do you need it? What's wrong with the other one? We just bought it a year ago, like the fridge. Like I bought it a year ago, 2 years ago. Why is it broken? What's wrong with it? Can it be fixed locally? Or, can I see pictures? I get really specific with it because, I've been burnt enough, but at the same time, I'm not going to pass on that burn or that feeling to the next person, but rather me. It impacted me in a way where I got to be more careful with what goes on, essentially. So I just want to close with, like, belonging within the family doesn't have to be just wire transfers, obviously, right? But it has to be, for sure, built on trust and respect. That's one thing that, even as a manager, consultant, or everything working wise, dealing with people, some of the hardest things in the world, because you're dealing with emotions, you're dealing with wants, you're dealing with needs. In a sense of being a breadwinner, Filipino American, like mine, or, OFW, sending money to the States, I'm sending money to the Philippines, it can get really weird very, very fast depending on who's handling the money. So setting expectations for me is always, it's better. It's easier said than done. I can tell you all day, but are you going to tell your kuya or your ate that you can't do this, you can't do that? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But if the majority of people didn't have so much of an issue and everyone was very upfront with each other, then a lot of people wouldn't be getting ripped off or felt slighted in any way on both sides of that situation. So I've come to realize that influence comes from authenticity, story sharing, just trying to connect, build rapport with your family, with your friends, and everything like that. Not just about sending money or giving money away. So there was an author named Zig Ziglar that said that, let me try to get it. You can do everything in life you want if you will just help enough people get what they want. But that doesn't mean at all losing yourself. Doesn't mean you're just being a pushover at the end of the day. So I just want to say, you're not just a provider, you're a bridge. So as a Phil M or RFW, the dilemma of remittances and guilt is real. But here are some options I think you should consider. You can either be drained by your expectations or transferred by how you define generosity. Belonging isn't bought, it's built. But maybe, honestly, you might have to spend a little money to get to talk from time to time. So if you've wrestled with money, remittances, and identity as a Filipino American OFW, I want to hear your story. Scan this QR code and be a guest on my podcast. I would love to speak to you about your story. Let's talk about family, business, and the unspoken issues and or problems or obstacles you're facing as a Filipino American and or OFW. And when you're done, check out this video because I believe it'll help you tremendously. Because the money will always flow, but your identity, that's the real wealth. Take care and God bless.